So welcome back, and this is the Wellbeing Action Thriving Tool, part of the Winter Wellbeing Plan. And I've got Sarah Restall with me. Hey, Sarah Restall, how are you today?
Hi, Rob. I'm a 9 out of 10, as you can see.
Fantastic. Well, what's keeping you at a 9 today? Why are you so high?
Well, I live at the beach, and even though it's lockdown, I still get to do my daily cycles out across the coast. So it's a nice day. There's not much wind. So I'm probably going to have a nice cycle, and I'm going to attempt a swim in the tide pool.
Fantastic. Yeah, so a cold swim, that's, pretty good for our winter well-being, right? So, look, we're here to talk about the Wellbeing Action Thriving Tool. You came up with this idea, Sarah. So talk to me about how that idea came to you. Where did it come from?
Well, I've worked in this biz for a long time, and the business of how do we tackle stigma, how do we speak openly about mental wellness, how do we reach out before we hit crisis point. And this idea came about as a result of really thinking about what it's like to be in isolation. So we've been isolated, we've been in lockdown, we've changed our way of working. A lot of us are working from home. And one of the things that kind of cropped up around that was the thought that when we're at work, we have people that see us on a daily basis who might be able to identify a change in our behaviors and who might ask how we're doing. And when we're isolated, we might not see people every day who would know about how we're doing. So I had a real think about that and thinking about how would we be able to know how we are doing so that we can reach out before we hit crisis point. And really it's about self-awareness. It's about thinking about what do I look like when I'm starting to drop down? So making sure that you're not going to just reach out for help when you're in a puddle of tears, or if you have an anxiety attack at 2 o'clock in the morning. Not that I'm talking about anybody in particular, but not reaching out then, but being able to reach out before that crisis point happens. So a lot of it is to do with form and really identifying in yourself every day how you're doing. And then also about being self-aware of your own behaviors and about empowering others to know what to do when your form is dropping. And I'm talking about colleagues, I'm talking about line managers, but I'm also talking about family members. I'm talking about your friends. What is it that your friends can do to help you when you start to notice that your form is dropping? How do you equip them and empower them to be able to make that interaction with you when you need it the most?
Fantastic. So part of the whole winter wellness plan is around bringing and developing that self-awareness. So this tool should be really helpful on that journey. And I love the fact, we'll share the tool in a minute so people can have a look at it on the screen, but I love the fact there's also a little bit around kind of what you need to do to stay well and prioritize those well-being non-negotiables. Tell us about that, and I'll just pull the tool up while we do that.
Well, it's really important to understand that there are things that you can do, interactions for you to stay well. So there's the well-being non-negotiables. So have a think about the things that you need to do each week to actually maintain your wellness. For me, I have a couple of non-negotiables, some that are really normal, like I need to get a good night's sleep. I really enjoy to get at least 7 hours a night, 6 or 7 hours of really good night's sleep. But also one of my non-negotiables is my morning routine. And I know that my morning routine is incredibly important to my wellness. I have to wake up and I have to have 2 cups of coffee while I watch some trash TV. And it's almost like a meditation where I'm not even thinking about what I'm watching. I just want the space to wash over me. And I need to do that every single day in order to start my day well. And I will wake up extra early if I've got an early meeting in order to achieve that. So that's one of my well-being non-negotiables. Others might think that they definitely need to do a run in the morning, or that they might need to meditate or do some yoga. So it's about really understanding yourself. What is it that really, really lifts you up that you must do every week to keep yourself well?
Fantastic. So in that first box on the plan there, you will have 2 cups of coffee and trash TV. That's one of your main non-negotiables that you'd have in there.
That's right. And
Brilliant.
it's not just me. My cat gets involved as well. She would shout at me if I didn't do that.
Fantastic. So we look at the non-negotiables, and you've mentioned this. What does it look like when you're in low form or you're heading to low form? So again, there's some things there around changes in sleep, appetite, decision making, energy levels, feeling sort of impatient or withdrawn. So I guess that's building up the knowledge of what happens when you start to become low. And I guess, thinking about it, my wife can always tell when I'm heading to a period of depression on my bipolar journey before I can, because I get more reserved, I get more distant, I'm less connected with the family. So it's building up that knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's important to understand what that looks like when you come. It's important to do this from a place of wellness, to sort of understand and really have a think. Okay, well, what are the signs? What is it? What is it that starts to happen when I'm going into a downward slide? For me, it's definitely waking up in the morning really early in the morning at 2 a.m. and feeling that tide rush of anxiety. If that happens more than one night in a row, I know that this is I'm going into a downward swing. But there are other things as well. Like for me, I get quite dithery when I'm really anxious, or if I'm in a space, I'll be quite dithery and quite forgetful. And that's really out of character for me. I am not a forgetful person. I am very, I'm very energetic, and I'm not particularly dithery. So if I start to forget things or lose my train of thought, then that's a real sign that something's not quite right.
Yeah, fantastic. So how should people, if they were doing this for the first time, just start to think about what those things might be? And again, I guess if you're not experienced of experiencing a mental health challenge, you might not have built up that knowledge. So how would you advise someone to kind of work that out?
I almost think that it's worth thinking about what you look like when you're in peak form first. So having a think about when I'm feeling a 9 out of 10, what does that look like? What is that? You asked me at the beginning, what brings you to a 9? And I said, oh, well, I'm getting outside and I'm exercising. I know what I look like in peak form. So you can think that potentially it's the opposite. So if I'm really sluggish or not wanting to get outside, that's a sign for me that my form might be dropping. So it's important to have a little think about if you've not experienced poor mental health before, if you haven't sought help about it, or if you haven't spoken about it with anyone, or if it's not really on your radar, this exercise, have a think about what you look like when you're in peak form, and then think about what the opposite looks like.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. And I think the third box is really important. How would you like to be supported by others? Because I think often we can assume, can't we, that if someone's struggling, they want a phone call. And that's not always the case. Some people want to be left alone. Other people might want that virtual cup of tea, or just to know that somebody's available to listen. So how do you like to be supported when you're struggling?
Oh, I'm all about the good feelings and the good vibes. So I'm definitely, I've described myself to Rob in the past as being a Labrador retriever, where I respond to good girls and food. So I like to be encouraged. I like physical touch is really important to me personally. And this is something that I've explained to my partner, and I've explained to my assistants, I've explained to colleagues. I've really, I've given permission that physical touch is a really good way to stop me from going into an anxiety attack or going into a downward spiral. Often it takes a hug, or it takes that physical intervention to just kind of snap me out of that thought process. Now, that's not so easy when you're on lockdown and you live by yourself, because there is no one to physical touch. But if you know that about yourself, you can give yourself a hug. You can give a pillow a hug. Sometimes if it's in the middle of the night and I wake up in the middle of the night, I might actually hug a pillow. So that's a big thing for me. Other people, I know that I've worked with people in the past who've said to me, whatever you do, don't be nice to me, because it will make me cry. And so I've had to crack jokes with that person. But the idea with this box is that nobody's a mind reader. You can't expect other people to know how to intervene with you unless you tell them. So it's a really good idea to have a think. How would I like to be spoken to? What is it that I would like with communication? If it's from a line manager or from one of your colleagues, do you want them to get in touch with you by writing so that you've got time to process that and get back to them? Or would you like them to reach out with a phone call? Is a WhatsApp a good idea? Have a think about if you want people to actually see you or to not see you. So for me, when it comes to external support, I actually really do like a WhatsApp, because it gives me a chance to ignore it if I want to until I'm ready to get back to someone.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Love it. So it's kind of building up that awareness, but then communicating how you'd like to be supported with loved ones, with family members, with friends, with colleagues that you trust. And this is, I think we'll look to try and implement a buddy system on this program where you've got somebody that you're sharing this with, because giving that knowledge and sharing that knowledge is really helpful. And so then finally, Sarah, the last box is around how to support oneself, how to support yourself. So working out what you can do as an individual, I guess, to really just arrest the tide, if that's a word, to stop you coming down, what works for you. So for me, I know exercise is key. If I'm starting to get low, if I can get out on my bike or do a yoga session or whatever it might be, that can give me the boost and the perspective to sometimes go from a 4 to a 5 out of 10. And I think the other bit for me is connection, which is super important right now. That if I'm starting to feel low, if I can share that with people and just receive that level of human connection, that can really, again, help me go from that 4 to a 5 or a 5 to a 6. But what about you? How do you support yourself aside from the freezing cold dips in the sea that we get at this time of year?
Yeah, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves with the dips in the sea. I'm really talking a big game. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. I think that there's a couple of things that I do. If I'm in a really bad way, if my anxiety is really peaking, I get outside. Even if it's raining, if it's cold, I go outside. I read somewhere once, and it might be completely untrue, but the idea is that going outside 45 minutes, even unintentionally, improves your mental well-being by 90%. I may be making up that figure, but I'm pretty sure that it does something along those lines or quite high up. So no matter where you live, if you can get outside and just get some of the sky or fresh air, it gives you a little bit of a break. The other things that I do, I'm an artist. So I know that I often commit to artworks that take an extremely long time, because it's a way of tapping into that same space in my head that mindfulness does, where it just kind of clicks me out of that obsessive thought process that I have when I'm in poor health. And it helps me to give my brain a little bit of a rest to do something really meticulous. My mum knits. Knitting has the same thing for her. She'll just knit something, a long scarf, because that helps her. So have a think about what is it that you know that you can do straight away. And in the middle of the night, when I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I don't want to go outside because it's cold and dark and I'm in my pajamas, and I don't want to start painting because it's cold and dark, I'm in my pajamas, I do actually have things like the TV show Black Books. It's a comedy show. It's enough to interrupt my thought patterns. And knowing that about myself is really important, because I'm not left floundering when I'm in a time of need. I know that I can do that. So,
Brilliant. Well, thanks for sharing that. So we've got 4 simple boxes. It's a period of self-reflection, but it's also being intentional about proactively managing your well-being, but thinking about how to support yourself and how others can support you when form starts to get a bit low. And let's face it, form will get low from time to time right now because of everything that's going on in the world. So Sarah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for putting that tool together. I can see you're starting to turn blue a little bit. So maybe you're heading from a 9 to a 10 with the Zoom background. So maybe that's the sort of transition we go through as we boost our form, which is great to see. So thanks for everyone. Hopefully you're going to find that tool useful. We're giving that away as part of this course. Buddy up with someone, share those little tips on how to support each other. It could be in your family, could be a friend. Put it to good use, and we'll see you at the next session. Thank you so much.